Hello, and welcome yet again to another video on the channel. And today we are at Random Tuesday. As I said in my video on Friday, that these Random Tuesday videos are becoming a lot more stable. They're becoming a little bit of a continuous series for the time being. The continuous series has come from another YouTuber, i.e. 3C Films. So I give credit to him. That's where I've seen it from. Doesn't necessarily mean that's where he's got it from, but that's where I've seen it from, and that's where I'm going with it. And we are doing negative reviews of films that I actually really like. You know, I saw that he did these a couple of years ago, and I'm actually really looking forward to recording this now. You know, I've got a couple of films, but this first one today is horror films. Horror films, of course, being some of my favourite films out there. So it's going to be interesting to see the bad reviews. And we're going to start off with Halloween. The original Halloween, might I add as well, the 1978 Halloween film. So this one, you know, it's one of my favourite films, and we're going to get straight into these reviews. These bad reviews. Let's see what we got here. So we got, and I apologise if you are watching this now and you see your name pop up, if I ruin the names. Please give me a chance here. But we've got Inaki Mador. Sounds a bit odd, but you know, I'll give you that. That's an interesting name. And we've got Mike Myers escapes from a mental institution 15 years after he killed his sister and returns to his home town to kill again. And his next victims will be Laurie and her friends. I never expected that a slasher film that is a cult classic and is widespread acclaim could be so ridiculous and boring. Mostly boring. I never felt tension, suspense or fear. I never felt the uncompelling characters were in danger, and the killings are anticlimactic and quite forgettable. Adding some words in there. So overrated. Yeah, no, I can't agree with that, unfortunately. Can I just say that these are my opinions? I'm not dissing your opinions. I can respect that you have your own opinions. However, these are films that I love, so I may say some things that, you know, might not necessarily come across too well. But yeah, I can't stand by the fact that it's boring. You know, if you weren't around to watch it, I mean, like, I'm only 28, so I wasn't there to watch it as it came out. However, I grew up with these kind of films when I was old enough to start watching them, and I love them, and that's why, you know, unfortunately some people do grow up with this sort of, you know, everything's got to be a jump scare type of thing, you know, and that's not what this film is. Also, the tension and the suspense, that is the biggest part of this film. The tension and suspense is there. Believe it or not. The fact that I never felt it, okay, fair enough. And, you know, the uncompelling characters were ever in danger. They never felt that. Okay. Even though they were. The killings being anticlimactic and forgettable. I suppose to a certain extent I can agree with that. However, I do still think that this is one of the biggest horror films ever, and that's why it is not a overrated film, as this person has said. Moving on, let's see another one. J.H. Jackaran. Okay, yeah, I'm terrible with names. J.H. Jackaran has put, while an iconic movie in the genre, it was a bore to get through. I was so glad when it was finished. It actually deterred me from watching the recent sequels. Again, somebody saying that it was a bore fest. I don't know, I can't agree with that. It is an iconic movie in the genre. It is. You got that right. But to say it's a bore to get through, and to say he was glad when it finished, at least he finished it. There are people out there that don't even finish these films, one of which will pop up later. But yeah, I can't agree with that one. And it deterred him from watching some of the recent sequels. However, some of the recent sequels have been the best sequels we've had from this series. So, you're missing out there, fella. You're missing out. Or woman. I could be wrong there. We got one from Francisco Basil. Hey, a name I could pronounce. Giving it half a star. I don't understand the hype for this movie. Was unrealistic, very slow. Second was bad. Don't know what that means. Just bad. It was a big mess. Please, I need to forget that this movie ever existed. What? Unrealistic. Very slow. It's not slow, it's tension building. Unrealistic. I mean, how is it unrealistic? You get horror films about ghosts. You get horror films with found footage about witches. They're unrealistic. This is a slasher movie. Very realistic, in my opinion. Big mess. I just can't agree with some of these. They need to forget the movie ever existed. Well, I want to forget that you ever existed, to be honest with you. This review is terrible. Okay, so moving on to another film now. And, let's get away from Halloween. I can't sit and look at some of these. A film that I actually really enjoy is Curse of Chucky. I'm intrigued to see what people think of this film. This was the one that came back after seeing Chucky and did so much more for the series going forward. So I'm interested to see what people have reviewed this one for. So yeah, again, we're going with the half stars. We will get into some of them. Sneaky Skeletons has put, it seems like a lot of people wanted Chucky to be more serious, but I kind of missed hearing his voice in the first half of the movie. Okay, I can agree with that. Brad Dourif as Chucky is so iconic. Yes, he's not very, you don't hear that iconic voice all that much in this film, so I can agree with you there. Chuck is not his name, it's Chucky. Well, yeah, let's not call him Chuck. Chucky does look very creepy in this movie though. Yeah, he does. That one face, TM, that he kept making really freaked me out, to be honest. Okay. I was fucking ecstatic when Jennifer Tilly showed up though. Yeah, of course you get a legacy character with Jennifer Tilly turning up. I don't see why he's giving it half star. A lot of what he said is actually really good. Chucky looks very creepy in this movie. Yeah, he does. And then he goes on to say that one face that he kept making, really freaked him out. Good. And they were ecstatic when Jennifer Tilly showed up. So what? Is the only thing that you're giving it half a star is because you wanted more Chucky? I can get with that. I can get behind that very much so. So, this first review, while he's giving it half star, I can understand where he's coming from. More Chucky, please. Right, moving on now to Manon, who's giving it half star as well. I've seen this film listed on Netflix for quite some time. I knew it was going to be a shit show, so I did not watch it for a few months. But well, curiosity got the best of me. I remember Chucky as a great scare of my childhood. This Chucky just made me want to die. It's so lazy, it's so unoriginal, it's a 75 cliche, sec, cash grab. No. I can't agree with that one. I don't think it's lazy or unoriginal at all. To be fair, they gave Chucky a bit more backstory. You learn a lot more about Chucky and what he's about, and the history behind Chucky. It's one of the things that I actually love about this film and the film after it. I did consider putting Cult instead of Curse, but I felt like because I like Curse a lot more than Cult, then I needed to be going through the Curse. But yeah, I can't agree with this review. And the fact that it took him so long to watch it, Dude, it's a Chucky film. As soon as a Chucky film comes out, you watch it, you don't hesitate. There was no need for hesitation there. So unfortunately, yeah. Again, another review I can't agree with. None of these reviews are making me turn to the dark side. We got another one here from Ank Bauer. Curse Chucky, of course. I don't know why I'm reading that. Half a star. Chucky Marathon 2020. Okay. Seriously boring and kind of just a dog shit rehash of the first film. No, it's nothing like the first film. And it takes forever to get this shit started. Again, I can agree with that. Yeah, it is a little bit slow paced, but it gives you a chance to sort of learn a bit more about the new characters. Seriously, how did we go from the first two entries in this series to this shit? I imagine the 9-year gap probably explains some of the creative bankruptcy, okay, and clear lack of a budget. Okay, there is a clear lack of budget in this film, but again, I don't know. I don't know why. I just can't agree with what he's saying here. Hank, what's the matter with you, mate? The first two are the best in the Chucky series of films, but I think what they did here was something new and something different, and it gave us a chance to see where Chucky is at that point. You know, it revived the series after what it was, a shit seed of Chucky. So how can you say that this one is a mess? Or that you can say, the 9-year gap explains some of the creative bankruptcy? What? No. So what if there's a lack of budget? A horror film does not need a big budget to be a great film. You can have a great film and then not be a big budget. I'm gonna carry on with this review, because it's got some interesting things to say. It's a pretty useless flick overall, Soulless Human. I don't think I like a single thing about this movie, other than Brad Dourif was fine. Fine? Brad Dourif is a legend, okay? There's no doubt about that. Do not diss on Brad Dourif. For all 15 minutes of the dialogue they actually recorded for this movie. Also, I'm glad Tilly is back, even if it's for a quick cameo. Other than that, pretty insufferable. I was ready for this to be over after 30 minutes. You got to give it a chance. Can I honestly say that after my first watch of this, I loved it? No. It was after rewatches of this that I actually started to begin to love it more. And when I started doing my review for the series, I can't agree with that review. Again, we're going to move on to another film now, because I can't get, honestly, this is one of the toughest things that I've ever done. I didn't think this was going to be so tough. Reading bad reviews for films I like is not easy. So we are moving on now to the original It with Tim Curry. There is no way on this earth that anyone can give this a bad review. I love it through and through. I'm going to see if I do agree with any points, because there are some things in the film that aren't great, but I am interested to see what points that these reviewers have made. So let's hit it. Another half star. Fuck this movie. Fuck the cast, crew. Hope everyone that made it gets cancer. Ouch. Ouch. Really? Ow. Johnny. By the way, I didn't even point out that your name's Johnny. Johnny, how can you be so harsh? You cannot be wishing people cancer. You fucking idiot. I'm sorry, this is not me per se. I don't disagree with people's opinions all that much. But when you're saying you're going to want to, you hope everyone that made that get cancer, what the fuck is wrong with you? Sorry. I'm going to move on from that, because that has peeved me off. No. Disgraceful. We've got Sydney Whitrow here saying, generally turned it off after 7 minutes of the movie. Boring. You turned it off after 7 minutes of the movie. You didn't give it a chance. Yeah, I can never ever give anyone credit that doesn't finish a movie. There has never been a movie I've put on where I've turned it off partway through. I at least give it a chance. You could get some terrible movies with some terrible beginnings and have a brilliant finishing. This is one of the opposites. This film does not have a brilliant ending, however it has a brilliant start. Yeah, no, I can't. Moving on to the next reviewer. Venor put, Tim Curry was literally the best bit of this movie, and he wasn't in it enough. Yeah, I agree there. Tim Curry was definitely the best part of this movie. This in no way do I say that this movie is perfect, because it's really not. But it's a classic. You know, it's one. This is probably one of the first horror films I ever watched, and really enjoyed. You know, and you know, I can agree there was not enough Tim Curry. Tim Curry as Pennywise is classic. Pretty disappointing to see that. But to mark it down for the fact that he wasn't in it enough, I don't think he's deserved. Because there is a lot of good stuff outside of the Tim Curry Pennywise stuff in the film. There's a lot of bad, but there's also a lot of good as well. Moving on to the next review, who was giving it a full star. So we are moving on to some full stars as well. I realised I didn't do that much with the other films. So this reviewer, Gen V, wonderful. Not very good. Most of the scenes with the kids were enjoyable. I'm just a sucker for the childhood friends. But once it shifts focus entirely to the adult, it falls apart. So much strange sexual tension, so much corny. We'll have to rewatch the more recent version to scrub my brain. Okay, I actually completely agree with this. To give it 1 star just based on those points is not fair on the film. I think it deserves more. However, I can agree that the best parts of this film is when the kids are kids, not when they're adults. The adult scenes are pretty abysmal. And I completely agree with this reviewer. Gen V, you're on it. Okay, moving on to the last film now we're going to do today. And that is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I did consider putting in one of the Insidious or the Conjuring films, but I didn't feel like I loved them all too much. I wanted to go down more of a nostalgia route with these horror films. So as you notice, there's nothing too recent. In fact, they're all pre-2000, I think. Are they? Yes, they are. So yeah, part 1, Curse of Chucky is my one on the side, the most recent film, but all the others are all pre-2000. So yeah, 1987's A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, one of my favourites. I'm going to see what people have said about this. We got half a star here. The Nightmare series has always had let me try and speak better. The Nightmare series has always had poor priorities. Humour over true terror and gore over subtleties. Nightmare 3 is no exception. Don't agree with that. Nightmare 3 has not got much going for it. There is a cool premise, but poor execution and a horrible score. The casting is okay for a horror movie. John Saxon is always a treat, and it's fun to see Patricia Arquette in her first starring role, but Eva Langenkamp has always struck me as sleepy. Okay. At least her character gets an interesting send-off. In the scope of horror and motion picture history, however, this dusty clunker barely registers as a footnote. Okay. That's from Bobby. I keep forgetting to name these people. Sorry about that. Bobby. No. The casting is not okay, it's great. I think there is a decent cast in there. They say, he's also said that it's a cool premise but poor execution. It's a great premise and it's a good execution. I don't see there being much wrong with this. Eva Langenkamp, the whole thing with her, Eva Langenkamp is a tough watch. I'll give you that. I will agree that the whole, when I first read it, I thought, what? But I understand what you mean now, that she's a bit of a sleeper. Yeah, there is no nuance to her performance, but Nancy is a iconic character in the series and deserves better. So, she does get a good send off. But yeah, it's not a dusty clunker. It's not a dusty clunker. And it does register a footnote in a lot of people's minds, including mine. Moving on now. Never before has a movie made me rage quit. Then I watched this. I get that it's called classic with two iconic Freddy kills, but it lacks substance and purpose in a way that derails what was such an iconic horror franchise into non-sequential cartoon garbage. Freddy is great in the movie as always, but I wanted the movie to end before watching more of this wizard kid bullshit. The crazy thing is, there are so many interesting ideas for how to approach a third installment and move forward with it, but this was the worst way to handle every single one. No, I don't agree with that. Rage quit, therefore you haven't finished it? Is that what you're trying to say there? No. Don't ever quit on a Freddy film. Do not quit on a Nightmare on Elm Street film. This is from Xavier Freif, or Freif, or however you say it. I can't agree with this. 2 iconic Freddy kills. There's a lot more than 2 iconic Freddy kills in this. I don't think it lacks substance or purpose. It doesn't derail. It is a very much an iconic horror franchise. Non-sequential cartoon garbage? No, I don't agree with that. I think that, that it took it in a direction where you're literally looking at a guy who can control nightmares. What else are you to do with that? You have fun with it. That's what you do. That's what this film does. There's fun in it. Yes, it's not the original Freddy Krueger, because Freddy Krueger was scary in the original. But the kookiness that they're bringing in this one is why I love the franchise so much. So, yeah. It's unfortunate. Okay, so that is it for today. I was going to do another one, but you know what? I think I'm good at that. We'll leave it at that. Those were negative reviews of films I love or like. In some cases, they're not ones that I love per se with it. However, it's one that brings nostalgia to mind whenever I watch them. But that's it for today. And this is what's going to stick. This is the stable now for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be going through a lot of different genres. Superhero is going to be a big one. I'm going to be picking some big superhero films. Also, I'm going to be picking one film from each of the phases, just to give it a bit of fresh air and breather, and not all be MCU-based superhero movies. There is some big DC movies in here. You'll be surprised at one that I put on the list of ones that I like. I will be doing next Tuesday, I will do horror movies I don't like and look at some positive reviews on those. There are going to be some ones, I'm going to look through some of the horror films, try and make it different to what 3C Films did in the sense of what horror films, because a lot of the films that he put in were ones that I actually agree with him, that I don't like. So, I'm going to try and avoid doing copycat sort of thing too much, as this idea is copycatted from him. So credit to 3C Films for the idea. If you're wondering where I've got all these reviews from, it's Letterboxd. Again, I was going to use IMDb However, I could not find a way of doing it so that I could actually see the week, like, you know, the 1-star reviews. It just kept showing me all the big time reviews, and it would take me a lot longer to do the video. So, thank you for watching. This has been Random Tuesday, that's now become a more continuous Tuesday. That's a big mouthful. Try saying that when you're drunk 3 times in a row. Fast. Anyway, I thank you for watching. I've been Scrivo. This has been Scrivo, and I will see you Friday for my Season 1 review of Supernatural. Goodbye.